Good evening, Canes fans. What's going on? Peter Ariz here, bringing you a special edition of Canes Insight Live, as we do after every Canes Hoops game. Tonight, Miami suffered their first loss of the season, of course, going on the road to Rupp Arena up there in Kentucky, a historic venue, and it was tough sledding for the Canes tonight, as this one is just wrapping up right here. Kentucky leading 95-73. Miami comes out in the first half there. Norchad Omier gets in early foul trouble. As we understand, this cannot be the case. It's been the case early on in the season as he's gotten into that early foul trouble. And this is why that can't happen. You against teams like they've played early on in the season here, even against some of these Power 5 teams they've played, you can get away with it, but you cannot do that against a Kentucky. Miami was really overmatched across the board, at pretty much this entire game, athletically and size-wise. And we'll get into each guy specifically. But again, on top of Norchad Omier getting to that foul trouble, Bensley Joseph also gets into foul issues, which forces a Keyshawn George into some playing time, and he did have some good minutes. Hit a big three-point shot, had a nice rebound on the possession after that, and at times really did a good job of kind of running the offense through a couple alley-oops there to Michael Nwoku, who had a rough go at times in those extended minutes that he had. But Keyshawn George, I think, gave some good minutes, but some guys that were really non-existent outside of that. Matthew Cleveland, on both sides of the floor today, really just didn't seem like his energy was all there. And offensively, really, he only took 3 shots, right? Hit a big 3-point shot when Miami did go up in that first half. They took a 29-23 lead. But other than that, wasn't touching the ball much offensively. And then Nigel Pack, 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 3 from the 3-point line. And Kentucky did a very good job of stymieing him. This is where I'm concerned. And I think I said it a couple live shows ago, just looking at this team moving forward here and what they lost in an Isaiah Wong and a Jordan Miller, right? Obviously, a Matthew Cleveland athletically brings a lot to the table, is a different player than a Jordan Miller. But at the end of shot clocks, or not even just at the end of the shot clocks, but when offense was stagnant at times for Miami last season, Isaiah Wong could bail you out at the end of the shot clock with a pull-up jump shot, with an isolation move, right? Because he had that ability off the dribble. Jordan Miller, same thing, right? I mean, Jordan Miller was a guy who could get you in that post on the block and facilitate offense from that spot, draw double teams, finish, spin towards the basket, had that little half spin, got you out of a lot of situations late in shot clocks. And when offense wasn't going, you kind of just get him the ball and make something happen. This Miami team, Wooga Poplar, still right now, as he got to the free throw line a bit early in that first half, missed some free throws, right? So that wasn't a good start for him. But ended up getting things going. But still to this point is a mid-range jump shooter, 3-point shooter. Want to see him continue to get better finishing at the rim. But, you can't get guys like Omier and Bensley Joseph in that foul trouble early. As we're getting some people coming in here, appreciate everyone who's listening to the show right now. I'll get to some of these comments here from Canes Cats, Heat 305. Just wanted to say also, because I had mentioned earlier today that D Money would be joining me. He's not going to be able to come on tonight to be talking about transfer portal movement. We'll have him on a show tomorrow. Going to be recording something with him. Obviously, a lot of stuff on the football side that we need to get into. TVD, official, some of these guys, James Williams, Cam Kitchens, they haven't officially announced it themselves, but they will be heading to the NFL as the rumors start, not the rumors, but the reports started coming out today. And from what I've heard, that those are accurate. Those guys will probably be announcing officially in the coming days, right? So those guys gone. The staff has been operating like that would be the case. And there's going to be some other guys who have decisions to be made on the draft side. portal side, decisions to be made for some guys, and then obviously a lot of excitement about potentially who is going to be coming in here. But we'll get to a lot of that with D Money tomorrow. I might drop a couple more tidbits here at the end of this, but I wanted to continue to get into this basketball talk because this was hyped up by a lot of people around the program to be the biggest regular season game in program history. It was an out of conference game. You're going up there to Rupp Arena. Miami has been up there before and won back in 08, but the stakes were a little bit different this time. Miami coming off of their recent success nationally, and it was being hyped up on ESPN. I saw them talking about this game on Pardon the Interruption, right? So I hadn't seen this sort of hype about a regular season game around Canes Hoops in a while. And unfortunately, they did not come out with their A game. Hopefully going to be a learning experience for a lot of these guys who got extended minutes, not in the best circumstances. But let's get to some of these comments here. Canes, Cats, Heat 305, as always, coming on here and, big supporter of the show. It's funny because, no size, no length, but when they brought Watson in there, and there was a lineup in there where Miami had a nice run, where it was Watson, Cleveland, Keyshawn George. I want to say Pack was out there as well. Nwoku, even though, Norchad came back into the game, right? But when you had George, Watson, and actually your next comment here was Watson should have played more. When they had Watson, George, and Cleveland on the court together, I think those three were able to combat some of the length that Kentucky had at the wings, because they were just able to drive right downhill and get to the hoop very easily, right? And I think that's the concern as you face some of these teams who are longer at these guard spots. And that's why Bensley Joseph always plays bigger than his size defensively, but he got into that foul trouble early. Even when he comes back into the game, him and Nigel Pack, look, they do a lot of great things, right? I don't want to undermine how good they've been for this team this season already, right? And obviously last season as well. But the dynamic between them two defensively is going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch as ACC play and as these bigger teams that Miami's going to be facing inevitably as the season progresses here. And if you want to be in that position that you were in last year, what was the issue when it came down to that UConn game? Obviously inside, they battered Miami up, and it wasn't necessarily a big man issue today either. I want to reiterate that although Omier did get into foul trouble, it was a lot of stuff from the wings and from the perimeter. Those guards were just bigger than Miami's guards off the bounce. Pack and Bensley were huge liabilities tonight. I hope we bounce back, but this is very, very ugly. Look, this was not a good offensive night for either one of those guys either, so that definitely magnifies things, but they weren't, Bensley did have an open look he missed in the corner there, but very, very tough for these guys to get open looks against that length that Kentucky had. Kyle Smith, we don't have guys that we can create off the bounce. Very concerning right now. That's been my concern just looking at the roster early on in the season. But I will say this, guys. Last year, Miami had their worst loss of the season, probably to Maryland around this time of year. And it was a springboard loss, I will say, for them, right? After that one, you're wondering, man, the construction of this team, Nigel Pack, Norchad Omier, still early in the season, we didn't know really what those guys were all about. And they grew from that loss. Hopefully, this is a springboard loss for this team moving forward. They'll drop in the rankings big time. It's going to, I'm sure when we see these bracketology projections over the next few weeks, they're going to drop. They're already a 4 or 5 seed in a lot of them, right? So don't expect them to be anywhere near those top few seeds anytime soon in those projections or anything like that. But this is a team that has a lot of room to grow. You lost a lot of production in a Wong and a Miller. you have some pieces to fill in the gaps there, right? But it's a different dynamic, and they're still figuring it out early in the season. First loss of the year tonight as they move to 5-1, coming off a nice run in the Bahamas there, obviously beating Kansas State there. And excuse me, I'm blanking who the other team that they beat down there. Of course, Georgia in the first game. Kansas State was the championship game. So final score tonight again, 95-73 for this team. As we have another one here, Michael Kwiatkowski. Appreciate the comment here, buddy. Bensley Joseph was an offensive liability tonight. I agree. He definitely did not get into his groove whatsoever. His numbers were 2 for 5, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. I remember one in specific near, in that second half where he missed a corner three, right? And he was not able to play as aggressively as he would have hoped with those 2 early fouls, and then picked up another foul in the second half there. So obviously defensively, that's his bread and butter, and was taken out of the mix very early on there. Any positives we can look at here? Wooga Poplar, 19 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, his hops are crazy. I say it every game. But he missed 3 free throws early in that second half that Miami was able to bounce back from. They were down 21-11 and ended up flipping it, getting a 29-23 lead off a good run there. But missed some free throws there. Was 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. So not a perfect performance from him either. But I did like what I saw from him, as now the scouting report is out on him, understanding he is a jump shooter. He basket a little bit more and draw contact, get to the free throw line. Omier was, he was active when he got back in there. I give him credit. What do you have? 20 points tonight. So, yeah, he was battling down there. He was not the big man wasn't the issue, right? It wasn't one of these cases where Kentucky was too big inside. It was a lot of stuff happening from the perimeter, then getting into the interior. But that's where the size defensively from Miami could become an issue as the season wears on. As Canes Cats Heat 305 says here, as I'll wrap things up here. Luckily, we have a game on Saturday, bounce back. Of course, Miami has their ACC opener against Notre Dame. And you get the win out there Saturday, get that bad taste out of your mouth, stay in that top 20, top 15, top 20 range, right? Like I said, they'll definitely drop big time out of the top 10 this week with this loss. But get the win against Notre Dame, get things back on track. Coach L obviously wanted to have a much better showing than the team did tonight, but he will find learning opportunities from this. Michael Nwoku came out, looked like he had grease on his fingers with some of those alley-oops. Again, a lot of it's fundamental with him. He was grabbing the rebounds and bringing it back down. It's the first thing they teach you. It's the first thing they teach you at Tamiami basketball down here in Miami. You can't bring the rebound down and let the little guys swipe at it. Keep the ball up here, the Miami staff, and go right back up with it. He had some minutes late in that game where he was able to kind of get his feet underneath him a little bit. But overall, you got to hope this is going to be a learning experience for him. Let me see if I can find the minutes. The minutes played aren't up yet, but he had a lot of minutes played in this. When he finished with 8 points and 6 rebounds, which he had some in garbage time there at the end, but definitely some building things to look for from him, and just getting comfortable in those big moments, right? Because a lot of these guys have been there before. He hadn't. AJ Casey, another guy you need to see more from moving forward, doesn't get on the stat sheet tonight in terms of points, 4 rebounds, but just did not look comfortable offensively when he has the ball. Just kind of freezes up a little bit. And look, a lot of these guys still learning to play with each other, but for the most part, the core of your team is still there. He's now in his second season. You need to start seeing some more flashes from him, because with his size and length, you're going to need him to stay in this rotation. That's just the bottom line. Kyle, look, this is the thing with Pack. He's obviously not a true point guard. He's more of a combo guard. But that's the give and take, right? Bensley Joseph is going to have to take some pressure off him as a ball handler as well. He's also had some issues at times with ball pressure, but these are early days in the season, man. So I'm trying not to get too down or up about anything that we're seeing right now, but these are definitely issues to look at as we get into this meat of the ACC schedule. Corey, I'm going to be, like I said earlier in the show, D Money and I are going to be recording a podcast, and that's when we dive into a lot of the stuff. So we'll keep this for Canes Hoops tonight. I know I had said earlier D Money would be coming on, but he has something tonight that popped up, so he's not going to be able to make it. But I promise you, we'll bring you that show tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. No problem. Yeah, so you say, pardon me. Don't worry about it, man. I know not everyone heard me earlier, so but I appreciate you coming on and checking out the recap show tonight, guys. This will be a building block win. I really believe so moving forward. Bad showing tonight at Rupp Arena. I don't think there was many Canes fans in attendance either. It was a weird timing of season right after this Thanksgiving break. So I wish I could have made the trip. Wasn't able to go up there either, but not too upset I didn't make it after seeing how things turned out. So we will have recap shows. I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I cannot do one after the Notre Dame game. Have a wedding out of town, but every other game this season that I'm available, I'm going to be doing these basketball recaps. I don't think anyone else is doing the basketball stuff like we are here at Canes Insight. Keep it locked for the transfer portal info and news, as the message boards are, moving like crazy with all the info, and we'll have the latest for you at Canes Insight as guys possibly coming in, as well as Mario Cristobal is looking to reload this roster. Appreciate everyone for coming on tonight, and go Canes.